Hi, my name is Ivy Scheck-Snyder, and I'm a gaited horse trainer from Northern Illinois. Today we're talking about leg position, how to use the leg, and some biomechanics of why you use the leg position for which things. So this is a question that's been asked a lot. Many people have said that they are kind of beginner riders, they're new at this, and no one explained to them how to use the leg. To me, it seems very simple, but I forget that I have read a lot of dressage books, I have listened to many people speak, and I have practiced it in more advanced riding myself. So, if I ever say that it's easy, know that it's easy for me now, and I totally get that it's not actually easy, and I'm trying to give you content that will help you. If I am making it too hard to understand, please go ahead and ask me to clarify. I don't actually have that much material today, so this is a great day for you guys to ask any questions that you have. I have some things to get started with right away. Talking about leg position, I'm kind of waiting for people to join just so that everybody has a chance to get on that's looking forward to this topic. One of the first things I'm going to talk about is your three basic leg positions, meaning where does the leg hang or fall and how do you use it? Do you put it forward? Do you put it back? How does that work? And those are things that I'm hoping will help you guys while you are working with your gaited horses. Now, all these leg things that I'm going to talk about are true no matter if you have a gaited horse or a regular horse. So there's no issues with the breeds. There's no issue if you do it with your quarter horse or your Arabian. This applies to all of those. So we're going to go ahead and get started. This is a little clip that I took with Jackson. Now you're going to see me ride Jackson around a little bit. I was going to show you more, but he actually was a little bit lame today, and he wasn't the last time I rode him. So we aren't going to actually use him to demonstrate some of the things I was hoping to. Perhaps I'll be able to get more for you in future videos. So here you go. Here are the three leg positions. When we talk about leg position, there's a few different ideas. Basically, here's what we're going to talk about for a normal leg position. Normal leg position, this is an ideal position, is when your heel, you look down, you can see your heel, and it lines up with your, it's not actually the hip bone, the pelvic bone right here. So it lines up right here with your, between, like kind of like your hip bone and your pelvic bone, kind of in between there. Then with your shoulder, and then with your ear. So that would be if I'm sitting in the correct position. Now, if we look at our leg, there's a couple places you can cue. You can cue right where the leg hangs, right here. You can cue forward, which is often to move the shoulder. So if I want the shoulder to move to the right, I would move my leg forward just a little bit, not way up by the shoulder, but just right here, and say, can you step that shoulder over? And I'm not asking for the hip, I'm asking for that shoulder to step over. Step that shoulder over for me. Okay. Wrong way. He's like, there you go, right there. Oh. Okay. Now, if we were to ask where the leg normally hangs, right here, then we could be asking for both the shoulder and the hip to move, like we're going to side pass, or it could just mean to say go forward if we use both legs. Now, if we slide our leg back right here, try not, well, that's, we're asking for the hip to move. As you just saw, as soon as I slid my leg back on either side, right here, I just slide it back and I just touch him. You didn't see a kick. I barely touched him and he moved his hip over. Those are your basic leg positions. Go ahead and stop. Those are your three basic leg positions and kind of what they're supposed to represent and mean. So that should answer kind of some of the most basic questions you might have about leg. Hi, Sherry from Indiana, and Susan and Richenda from Gibraltar. Cheryl says Texas says hi. Hi. Christian says, I love these videos. I can't get enough of your knowledge. I am so glad I'm able to help you guys. Annette from Arizona, and Louise from Wisconsin, Michelle from Missouri, and Jane from Virginia, and Angie from Kentucky, and Nancy, hi, and Kimberly, and Bonnie, and Regina. Okay, so lots of people watching, and Beth from Arizona. So we're going to go into one of the next issues that I actually had a lot of trouble with when I first started, which was why in the world do we have so many differences of opinion? So I was taught early on in the more Western style where if you want to go left, you put your right leg on and they go left. Or if you want to go right, you put your left leg on and they go left. But then the more I learned, people talked about the horse bending around the inside leg, and I was like, what the heck does that mean? I don't even have a clue. And it took a while of reading dressage books and actually going to a clinic or two before I started to understand what they actually meant. And so I'm going to go through some of the differences between Western and English, and this is not absolute. So if someone disagrees with me, it's okay. I'm just giving you some of the basics and what I found to be generally true for each style of riding. And there's way more complexities that go into this. This is just an overview of Western versus English and leg position. So one thing that gives a lot of confusion is, how do you use your legs to ask for the turn? Well, there's a couple different ways. If you are more of a Western rider, then what you would do if you wanted the horse to turn to the right, I know it's the opposite, your left, but my right, turn to the right, you would use your leg right where it hangs, so that would be my left leg, and you just push on the horse and say, can you go to the right, just like that. And I could ride around and say, there you go, just like that. So I'm riding, right, hands free, and I put my left leg on and say, can you turn to the right? Can you turn to the right? Can you turn to the right? And whoa, whoa, good boy, just like that. Okay, and it's the opposite. I'm going to go another circle, Timothy. The opposite, if you want to go to the left, or your right, my left, is I'm going to put my right leg on right where it hangs. I don't slide it back, I don't slide it forward, just right where it hangs. And I say, can you turn to the left? And I release. And I put my left leg, come on, turn to the left. He's like, no, we're turning to the right. There you go. Turn to the left, good. Turn to the left, and I take my leg off. I put my leg on, I take it off, good. Now I'm asking him to go to the right so we can straighten out and come back to where we started. Turn to the left, and whoa. Good, very nice. Good job. Okay, now here's the trick. That's a very Western style of riding, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is how most people train horses for trail, for Western. You ask the horse to move away from the pressure. Now here's where it gets tricky. In English or dressage riding, what we do is you'll hear people ask the horse to bend or turn around the inside leg. Now when we talk about the inside leg, we either refer to the inside of the horse's bend, which is the direction the horse is bent, or the inside of the circle. So for example, if we were doing a circle to the right, we'd be asking the horse to bend around our inside leg or our right leg. Now, this can be very difficult to understand because we teach horses to move away from pressure. How is putting our inside leg around, isn't he just going to move away? Well, yes and no. So the exercise where we used our heel and we turned our toe out and we lifted up our heel, that idea is to lift up that torso. So again, the horse is shaped kind of like a barrel, and so it doesn't really bend in the middle, but what it does do is it rotates left and right. And we want the horse's belly to rotate this way, or the spine to go to the outside, which allows the inside hind leg on a circle to the right, the inside hind leg to step through, allowing the horse to be rounded and begin collection. Okay? What often happens is people think the horse actually like bends his rib cage around, and that's not the case. The idea is to lift the inside of the rib cage so that that hind end can step through. I don't know how much I can do with Jackson today here. So I'm now, walk on. So now I would normally be asking him to turn with this, but we're not going to. We're going to turn our toe out, and we're going to be asking him to lift that inside of the rib cage this way and allow that hind end to step farther under. Yeah, there you go. Good. I know. You're not feeling good today. It's okay, Jackson. So that's kind of, I don't know how well he was doing it there, but that's kind of the idea. And so it's this idea of getting the horse now, we've gone past just getting turns, and now we're trying to get collection and balance. And that's why you'd use your inside leg to facilitate a turn. So, but what you would normally do is when your horse is falling on that inside shoulder, you would take your toe, turn it out, lift that leg, and ask the horse to lift his rib cage. Now, as soon as he lifts and rebalances once, you stop and take your leg away. You don't hold it on and keep it on. And that's the thing with any leg pressure. You should try to only hold it for a split second and then release. You can always reapply the pressure after that, but your goal is not to hold constant pressure, okay, right? You heard me say that. Don't apply constant pressure. This is something that you ask and release, and you ask and you release. And so by using your inside leg on a turn, you can help the horse lift and balance, but you can't leave your leg on them. You have to take it away and allow them to fall out of balance and then have them lift up again. So that's one way that you can help the horse rebalance around a turn, especially at faster speeds. So there you go. Talked a little bit about the differences between Western and English. Now, one thing I started to bring up was lifting the rib cage. So I'm going to go ahead. I forgot to get this ready earlier. I am going to show you really quickly. It's going to take me a sec. So the screen's going to go black, but there's nothing wrong. I'm just getting it set up because I forgot to earlier. So really quick, going to set up this image for you. That is from a book called Total Horsemanship by Jean-Claude Rassenet. I recommend it if you want to know more of the biomechanics. And, oh, it's rotated. Okay, one sec. Not quite ready. I'm going to get it ready and then get it to you. So this is a picture of kind of how the rib cage works. And the trick is that most people think the horse just like he bends through the rib cage, right? If this is the rib cage, then the rib cage can the ribs can bend around your leg as they turn. But that's actually not true. They don't really turn like that. The rib cage is fairly solid and doesn't actually have a lot of flex to it. So what we have is a rib cage that rotates like this, right? And that's what I want to show you in this picture. He talks about the idea that, for the inside of a bend, so if the horse is bent to the right, then to get him balanced, so the hind leg can step through, the inside or the right side of the rib cage, my right, your left, needs to lift up and to allow that hind leg. Obviously, that's kind of extreme. But I actually do have a video to show you. So dogs do this and cats. If you watch dogs or cats, when they walk or trot, their rib cage swings like this, okay? So here's a video. I just got it really quick. It's not a great video. You can kind of see how the rib cage rotates on, this is my dog Cloud as he's walking. So as you watch, right behind his legs, that's where the rib cage is, you can see as it rotates left, and then we'll watch it again here. Here we go. Oh, hang on. Restart. So there it's rotating to the right. There it's rotating to the left. Then it rotates to the right, and that is normal. And as far as I know, at least cats, dogs, and horses all do this. It's quite possible that a lot of other four-legged animals do this, and that their bodies rotate like this. Let me try really quickly to get this image up for you. Okay, here you go. Hopefully you guys can see this. This is, again, Total Horsemanship by Jean-Claude Rassenet. Basically this idea that, we think of the horse's back as being flat, which is the top. But as he bends, see how the horse, if he bends to the left, then he has to lift that middle part. But if he drops that part when he bends to the left, then you get a horse that's hollow and not actually balanced. And so that's why you want that inside to lift. So I know that's getting kind of technical, but that's why I decided to be a little bit technical today. So hi Lacey and Penny from Pennsylvania, and Monica from Colorado, and Terry from California, and Darren from Shelbyville, Tennessee, and from Netherlands, and Amy from Michigan, and Robin from the East Coast of England, from Woodbridge, wow, and Kelly from Morgantown, West Virginia, and Cindy, hi. Thank you guys so much for joining so far. I got a couple more videos to show you. So you saw the video of the dog lifting the rib cage, and you saw the image of kind of why it's important, and I highly recommend you read the book because he talks a lot about the biomechanics and some things of why we want the inside of the rib cage to lift. And then actually there's another link I'm going to share with you. So a friend of mine, or someone that I know, like kind of an acquaintance, but I really like his work, JP Giacomini, he does a lot of work on how you can easily get lateral movements by putting yourself in a position that so the horse is able to lift his back the correct way, which is the way we just showed. So I'm going to share a link to his videos in the description as soon as the video is done. I highly recommend you take time to watch them, even if you don't totally understand them right now. So this is a really short video on lifting the rib cage and how you'd use leg position to do that. Now keep in mind, just like with lifting the rib cage on turns, you never do this and hold, you do this and then you release. So here we go. All right, there's different ways you can use your leg. One is right where it hangs and you can just squeeze right here. The other way that we're going to talk about the stomach, like we've talked about, is to turn your toe out and to wrap your leg as much around the horse as you can. And then you're going to essentially lift your heel into the horse. And the goal of that, the goal of that is to get the horse to lift his rib cage. So I'm just demonstrate here. And you can see that, right? Toe out and roll up. Good, I know. Very good, very good, very nice. I know, here's like, I'm listening. Good job. All right. Yeah, all right, so go ahead and stop for a sec. There's kind of the idea of what I would do in close-up, kind of to see how I would ask the horse to lift the rib cage. Okay, that is most of my material that I have here for you guys. So if you have any questions, now's a great place to jump in. We have Kathy from Arkansas and Mary from Crowley, Texas, and hi Melody and Sigrid. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us. Again, we're talking about how to use your leg position and leg cues. Earlier I showed the different leg positions, so when the live video is done, you can go back and watch that if you like. And now, if you have any questions about leg cues or what I talked about, now's a great time to ask, because I really don't have much more to tell you guys. Other than this is just the basics. And again, I will post links to JP Giacomini's videos where he talks about how to use the leg in your seat to get more lateral movements. One thing that's really awesome, after I watched his videos, it was a few years ago, I'd been struggling to get the half pass with my quarter horse. I mean, I knew what one was. I theoretically knew how to do it, but I mean, I really didn't. I was just guessing and couldn't get it. And finally, I'd watched his videos. He shared a link or something. Someone shared a link with his. And what happened was I went out the next day. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I can go do this. And I made the change in how I sat and asked for the half pass, and my horse got it instantly. Instantly. That was all it took. I had to change what I was doing, and then he got it. And that was so awesome to see. And it's something that I've learned and remembered, and how I ride is based off of a lot of what I learned in his videos. So I will share the link to that in the description. And let's see. No questions today. Wow. Okay. Sonia says, do you use spurs for difficult horses? It's a great question. So I already have a video about spurs, which I will share in the description. But here's the thing is I would never use a spur on a horse that needs more training. The spur is something you use for a horse that is very finished, and if you need that kind of finesse. If you have difficulty, I would honestly ride with the crop because it tends to cause less tension and nervousness in a horse than with a horse with spurs. Now, there are exceptions. If a horse is terrified of a whip, then of course riding with a crop is not going to help unless you train them to get used to it. But spurs tend to actually cause a horse to tense up. I had an example. I had a horse that was brought to a clinic, and the horse was not gaiting when it came, but the lady had done a ton of prep work, so the horse was ready to get started gaiting. And within 23 minutes, I got it gaiting. Then the owner got on, or 27 minutes, the horse was gaiting. Then the owner got on, and she was unable to get gait, and the horse was just gaiting for me, but she was wearing spurs. I mean, very short, very, very mild spurs. And I said, can we take these off? And she said, yes. And we took them off. I just pulled them off of her shoes right there, and the horse started gaiting. And it wasn't that she was a bad rider or was spurring him hard, but just the thought that she was going to touch him in the ribs was enough to cause him to tense, and not gait, which is one reason why I highly, highly, highly recommend you do not ride with spurs unless your horse is gaiting perfectly and is very well trained to all of these things, because it can go so badly. If not badly, it can be misunderstood by the horse so easily. Let's see. Okay, we got some questions. Trish says, what are your thoughts on counterbending to keep the inside shoulder up? I see it in a lot of barrel racers. Counterbending is awesome if you're using it as an exercise to develop the horse. But counterbending to keep the shoulder up, I've never heard of that. Generally, you ask for counterbend is kind of a little bit more advanced dressage move. Again, it's a good thing to do counterbending because it requires the horse to do more work. But I'll tell you what, in barrel racers, most of those horses have very high heads. They are fast horses, and in some ways they are definitely athletes, but they are actually not very well trained in some ways. They're not balanced. And so I want to actually train the horse to lift himself up and not have to hold him up. So I would have to say that I've never heard of counterbending to keep the inside shoulder up, and I'm not quite sure how that would actually work. It comes a lot from the hind end and the horse being able to lift their back and use their shoulders well. Cheryl says, I was taught placing the heel forward just under the elbow to have front leg cross over the opposite leg. Is this a totally different thing? Taught placing the heel forward just under the elbow to have front leg crossover. So Cheryl, that's pretty much what I said. At least I think so. If I didn't, I'm sorry. Yes, you slide your leg forward. You don't have to use your heel. Ideally, you're not using your heel, you're using your calf. The heel and pushing on the horse is for emergencies. Kicking your horse to go or using the heel really is for emergencies. It should be your calf. And I do move my leg forward to push the horse over the front end, which is what I said earlier on. So I'm sorry that was confusing. Darren said, could I discuss the outside leg and how outside leg is used to maintain momentum while inside spur is picking up the rib cage? Okay, so again, you should not be using a spur unless your horse is very advanced. You can use the outside leg to keep momentum going, but right where it hangs, you don't slide it back. That's what a lot of people do, is they slide that inside leg back, and that's not correct unless you are asking for a lateral move or you're asking for the horse to rebalance. And again, remember that no matter what you do, your goal is not actually to hold that pressure, but to cue the horse and then release the pressure. So if you're asking the rib cage to lift, you ask and you release. And you ask and you release, and you can use your seat and your whole body and your intention to ask the horse to go forward. You can use your outside leg, but again, it's not the spur, it's not your heel, it's your calf. The goal is not to use spurs with training unless you are so advanced that the horse doesn't understand what you're asking without a very specific touch. And most of the horses, mine included, are not that advanced to need that. So most people use a spur because they say the horse is lazy, the horse won't turn, the horse won't go forward, it won't respond to the leg. But guess what, guys? That's a training issue. Yeah, you've heard me say it before. It's a training issue. It's a good question. Your horse should be able to maintain whatever speed you're asking. Occasionally, you're going to have to use your leg a little bit, but again, a little bit. I've gotten horses to give me big, beautiful canters with just a little bit of leg cue, and I don't have to hold it. The horse gets that go forward. It's my whole body is asking for forward. My whole thought, my upper body is saying go forward, and I rarely have to be constantly using inside leg or outside leg to get that impulsion. Lacey says, so if you're doing a large circle, your outside leg is completely off the horse. Your inside leg is touching and lifting as you're going around. Lacey, kind of. If I'm riding Western, then I'm using my outside leg to turn. So if I'm going down a large circle and I'm asking the horse to turn to the right, then I'm going to be using my outside leg to ask for the turn. If I'm working on more gymnastic things or I'm riding English or dressage style, then yes, I'm going to be using my inside leg a little, and my outside leg could be saying for the horse to continue going forward. But again, this is much more advanced, but it is there. And it depends on how you want to ride. Everybody rides a different riding style, whether you want to do English or dressage. But it's a good question. Bonnie says, have been told lots of times to make sure you are in time with the horse's feet. I'm thinking this is most important when the horse is moving. Correct. I've been told that it is easier for the horse if you ask when the foot is ready to leave the ground. Would appreciate hearing your thoughts on this. Bonnie, they are absolutely correct. That if you can time it to before the horse picks up the foot, so that when he picks it up, he can give you the answer you're asking, it's so much easier on the horse. Here's the thing, I'm not even very good at it yet. I'm still learning. And this, again, is a very advanced thing. It's awesome to learn. There's probably lots of videos out there that'll help you. One of the easiest exercise I can give you is to ride. If you can close your eyes, great. Start to think about when you think a foot is lifting up or landing, ideally about to lift up. So especially for me, it was thinking about the front legs, so the right leg lifting up, but then, which is fairly easy to get the front legs, to figure out when the hind leg was about to lift up and when it was coming forward. And if you're riding in a big Western saddle, this will be more difficult because it is harder to feel what the horse is doing. But as you ride along, just concentrate on which foot you think is lifting up and say it out loud. Say right, right, or now, now, and pick a foot, that hind, the right hind leg, and think now, now, now. And if you have someone with you, they can tell you if you're right or not. I've done this myself and spent quite a bit of time doing it on my own and then like looking or having someone tell me just so that I could practice that. Mark says, why do all you guys do these videos in the car? Hey, Mark, that's an awesome question. I even have a video for that. The car provides a lot of natural light. It is free from distractions. My family, of whom there are 5 of us at home and 2 dogs, do not have to be quiet while I do these videos for half an hour every single day or 3 to 5 days a week. My car is much quieter than anything inside, and because of the fabric on the floor and the ceiling, and the audio is much better and not so echoey as inside. And if you do it during the day, you have lots of natural light so that everybody can see. And that is why I do it in the car. And again, it's just much quieter. And Lori already answered the question. Thank you, Lori. So great questions today, guys. And I did say that today was going to be a little bit trickier because it was going to get into more advanced riding. And I know some of the riders here are not there, but you should always aspire to be better and to try to make that progress. And it's something that I need to practice. One thing, someone asked a question of a very famous rider and said, what do you think about when you're riding? I thought, that's a great question. I don't think I would have come up with that question. That's a great question. And his answer, puts me to shame because he said he's thinking about his position. And I have to say that a lot of times when I'm riding, I forget to think about my position, and I should do it more. And it's something that this year I've tried to start practicing, is when I'm riding, think about my position. Now, sometimes I'm talking to you guys or I'm training and it's hard for me to think about it, but it's something that I am working to do better at. Cheryl says, should one stick to Western or English and not mix? Nah, not necessarily. Cheryl, I do both. So if I'm riding Jackson, I'll just ask him to move, like the bridleless riding you've seen me doing, I'll ask him to move with the outside leg, more Western style. But if I need him to rebalance, I'll use my inside leg. And he's been trained to do that both, but just be aware that that's the difference. So if you ask someone, which leg do I use to turn? And they say, oh, you use the inside leg. And you go, what? And then someone else says, oh, you use the outside leg. Now you'll have an idea of where they're coming from and why they may say that kind of thing. And you might go, well, that's totally opposite. How could those even be true? Well, now you kind of have an idea of why those differences exist and what people are kind of thinking when they say both of those. Cindy says, I like the car, no flies. That is a good point. Flies just started coming out, but that would definitely be an issue. And who knows, I may have more bugs fly in my mouth like in that one video. And, we all know how that turned out. All right, tomorrow, I'm excited about the topic for tomorrow, even if nobody else is. I'm very excited because I will be talking about, gosh darn it, breed doesn't matter. And this I'm going to, of course, clarify when I do the video that it applies specifically to people that are not showing their gaited horses, that are more trail riding or pleasure riders, and why everybody's constantly asking, what breed do you think this horse is? What breed do you think this horse is? What breed is this? What does he look like to you? Whether they have a video or a picture, and I'm going to tell you why it's a huge pet peeve of mine and go into why I don't think it matters what breed they are. And some people are going to hate that, but that's okay. You guys are here to hear my opinion, whether you agree with it or not. And if you disagree, that's okay too. So that will be tomorrow's video. I have a couple of other ideas, so I may be adding additional videos this week, live videos, which I will notify you guys ahead of time. I just have a lot of things that I want to share with you, but I need to save some for next week and all those things. So again, it's really helpful if you guys share this video if you found it helpful. It'll help more people as well. I hope you guys have a great evening and a great week and that you're having good weather. I know some places are getting a lot of rain. We are actually dry here. Well, dry-ish because we were so wet last year. And it's finally getting nice and I'm able to be out and ride. But I hope you guys have a great evening and a great weekend, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. If you get a chance to get out and ride, you got this.